Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. In today's video, we are on the test server here today, so we want to thank Plarium for giving us access to the test server. So thank you, Plarium, for that. And in today's video, we will be talking about and showcasing one of the Asgard Divide champions, Freyja Fateweaver. So Freyja here in the mythology, she is Odin's wife, mother of Thor. She's a Force Affinity defense-based champion here. She kind of looks like a veteran Valkyrie. Looks awesome. I love the holographic like shield. I love her like gold armor pieces. And yeah, she just looks really sweet. Definitely looks very godly. Base stats look awesome as well. Great base stats across the board. Great base speed. Very nice. Good base HP along with good base defense. Let's check out her kit here real quick. Her A1 is an AoE, single hit, 25% chance books up to 40% chance to land provoke. Also counterattacks with this skill when her shield has to be placed by herself, is removed by damage. So because it's removed by damage, it doesn't happen all the time, so she's not going to be counterattacking all the time. It would have been stronger if her shield was removed in any way, whether it be by duration, stolen, or whatever. But because it's damage only, it's going to be not so often. It really limits the A1 quite a bit. Her A2 4 turn down to 3 turn, you got some 20% shield boost here. Increased defense first, then places a shield. Value of the shield is equal to her defense and max HP. It's actually kind of interesting because we don't know the exact scaling of the increased defense and the max HP, but we do like that she places increased defense on herself first before placing the shield, and then that means that the shield will be bigger than if she didn't have the increased defense, of course. And of course, it also scales on the target's champion's max HP as well. So, you know, definitely some room to improve upon your shield. We'll test out how big her shield gets relative to some other champions that have also a skill like this. 3 turn cooldown, very reasonable skill on her A2. A3, 5 turns down to 3 turns. Remove all debuff, so full team, cleanse, block debuffs, and then a turn meter fill of 20%. Very good. This is like the very standard, like top tier legendary level of cleanse ability. 3 turn cleanse with the block debuff and then an additional benefit as well. Yeah, so the turn meter fill, very solid. Some champions have heals, some champions have other abilities as well. Turn meter fill is obviously very good. Going to be good in multiple areas. Arena, Hydra, of course. That's where her kit seems to be focused on. Definitely can find some use for her there. Passive, very interesting passive here. So her passive effect increases this champion's defense by 5% each time an ally inflicts a crit. So an ally inflicts like a multi-hit, multiple crits. You know, she can only stack it 10 times, but up to 50% increased defense. Very nice. And then her active effect on a 5-turn cooldown prevents the death of an ally with the highest crit damage, except this champion. Keeps them alive with 1 HP when hit with a fatal hit. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, this effect only triggers once. Then heals the ally by 20% of their max HP and activates an instant turn. This is actually really cool. We're definitely going to test it out and see how it works in action. And yeah, we'll definitely see how her kit functions. I think she's going to be good in basically any area in the game. Her big shield gives team survivability. She gives a cleanse here with block debuffs and turn meter boost. And then of course her passive, very good as well. And then A1, even her A1 AoE provoke gives her some utility as well, especially for Hydra. So let's check out her in some content and we'll reassess her abilities after. Okay, I actually found the perfect team here to test this. A couple things here. YST's team, so thank you YST for putting up a pretty good team here for us to test. But in this test, we can actually test how we interact with an enemy nuker that will get revived, and then we'll see how they will react to our nuker that gets revived. And it's basically not a revive. They just stay at 1 HP. So the passive won't get blocked by things like Lydia's passive, for example. But obviously, leaving them at 1 HP, you know, leaves them quite vulnerable. And it's not, I would say it's probably slightly worse than bringing them with leaving them with unkillable, or leaving them returning with block damage or something like that, or even just a revive on death. Just because Lydia's passive is, you know, obviously very rare and unique, but leaving them at 1 HP means that they're susceptible to things like ally attack and multi-hits and all that stuff. But anyways, we'll test that out here. Let's see how she works. But this is a great team to test everything here against. So we're going to go first. So I guess we're just going to, let's do, I guess, increase defense. All right, so Wukong's going to kill his Baron. I'm going to kill his Baron. Okay, so Baron came back, but because I stole his stone skin, he couldn't kill my Wukong. So, all right, sorry about that. We did test how his Baron would react. So basically, we killed his Baron with our Wukong, and then his Baron was, you know, left with very minimal HP, and then he went right away with his attack. But he was unable to kill our Wukong because our Wukong stole the stone skin. Let's try this again with Rhonda, and we'll use. Won't use anything, I guess. Let's use her again. This is not a great test. Okay, that was kind of interesting. So what happened there was that Rhonda's AoE hit Baron down to half health, and then the second hit from the AoE killed Baron, and then Baron bounced back. So unless you have like a third hit to take off his last 20 20% HP or whatever, he won't go down. So it kind of is not saying that multi-hits is like the sure answer for her passive, because you have to have the multi-hit kill him after triggering his, after triggering her passive with leaving him at 1 HP. So even though Rhonda does have a multi-hit on the A2, the hits weren't strong enough to kill Baron, therefore not triggering the passive, which makes sense. All right, let's try this again. Ethos has the multi-hit AoE, and this should kill his Baron even through the passive here. Let's try that again. Okay, so they got a turn first, and it looks like our Ethos probably died, but because yeah, it looks like our Ethos probably died. The same situation with Rhonda. Ethos probably died, but because of her passive kept him alive. So let's see. Oh, triple hit here, right? Ethos is triple hit. Let's see if I can kill that Baron. I don't, because the Baron stayed alive because of the Freyja passive. Very, very nice. And then, of course, Baron got the instant turn and then killed our Ethos right away. So actually, this is a pretty good, kind of back and forth just to see how the Freyja passive really works. And actually, I think it was a good showcase of her ability there. Very, very cool passive, actually. Okay, and here, I'm actually interested to see how her passive works in the Sand Devil, whether it's viable for her to do this type of content. Because as you guys know, any kind of champion with a passive that kind of keeps themselves alive or brings back an ally from dying is generally usable in lots of different content. For example, Blizzard, which just has a passive that keeps himself alive. Aniri obviously reviving somebody else. And then we have other champions that can do lots of different things. And then you see those champions all over the place doing, Amy as solo and Sand Devil comps and all this crazy stuff. So Freyja has a passive similar to this, and it's possible that maybe now or in the future she might fall into this category where she can find some use in some of these very cool teams. So I just want to see if it's possible that Freyja actually works here. Okay, so I don't think my ninja died because my Freyja is probably too beefy. Let's see what happens here. So first, I guess we need to go cleanse after. Let's see what happens. So I need ninja to stay alive. Okay. Ooh, that was close. Okay, so guess we need the big shield. And now we can do a cleanse. Turn meter boost. I don't think Ninja's going to stay alive from this big... I don't think Freyja is going to stay alive from this big hit, but we can see. Yeah, but it did keep Ninja alive. So, technically, you could kind of run Freyja like maybe super tanky, maybe some other way, maybe in regen or something. It's probably possible. But she would probably need some pretty crazy stats. Maybe regen with some crazy stats. Obviously, some kind of speed tune for her passive to run 5 turns, obviously. And then maybe it's possible for her to run this against Sand Devil. So it's probably possible, but yeah, definitely, you know, gonna take some community brains to brainstorm something for this. But I think there is something here. Definitely something very cool with her passive that can probably use for some of this type of content. Here's a quick test against Narcissus' passive, which would break most people's passive, but let's see if it affects Freyja's passive. I don't think it would. So let's try in this instance here. So if Narcissus' passive basically cancels Freyja's, it would kill Wukong in 1 hit. But instead it takes 2 hits. So in that instance, you did see Wukong die in 2 hits, which means that Narcissus probably didn't kill Wukong with the Wukong did come back with the Freyja passive. We can try that again. This time I'll do no shield on Freyja just to make sure that the Wukong dies. Oh, sorry, he has a small shield from the bolster set. Let's see here. Okay, so do a cleanse. Boom. So 69k would have killed that Wukong. The Wukong was only at 46k, so 69k hit from the Narcissus would have killed Wukong through the bolster shield or whatever. But the Freyja passive did trigger, so it kept Wukong alive with a little bit of HP left. But the second hit from Narcissus did finish Wukong off. So basically that test was to show that Narcissus' passive, which basically shuts down all enemy passives, does not shut down Freyja's passive in basically keeping one of the allies alive at 1 HP. Alright, so let's try her in an offensive setting. So let's try her with just a super glassy nuker. Usually I would bring Necrit here to protect Georgid, but we'll just fully rely on Freyja's passive. Rhodos is a single hit champion, so he shouldn't be able to kill Georgid in 1 hit, hopefully. Let's see how this one goes. So you go boost. We'll probably one-shot somebody here. Let's go Sifi. Nope, almost. How's the AoE? 4.7k hit. Not a big hit by any stretch. Keep in mind that Freyja's passive only saves the champion with the highest crit damage. So only will save Georgid here. If I read that correctly, I'm pretty sure. Okay. Okay. We still didn't trigger Rhodos' passive. Kind of strange. Let's keep the shield off. Want a clear hit here. Want him to hit the the Georgid. Here we go. Boom. Yep. And then we got the instant turn back. How sick is that? That's actually really sick, right? That's actually really nice. So we triggered Rhodos' passive where he gets basically a hit back, an extra hit, extra turn. He comes in, tries to kill Georgid, fails because Freyja's passive keeps him alive, and then Georgid comes in and finishes him off. It's actually really nice. Gives Georgid the instant turn right after Rhodos hits him. And this is kind of like a setting where you can kind of use them in an offensive setting. Obviously, Freyja's passive is going to be really good against champions that only have like 1 strong hit. For example, like Rhodos, Baron, for example. And yeah, it's really cool. It's cool to see. Oops, I didn't have any gear on my Ancora. You can kind of see how she kind of works both with her passive offensively and kind of defensively too. Hopefully I showed you guys some of the nuances of her passive. I think her passive definitely makes her very, very special. And of course her overall kit is very strong. Being a cleanser, increased defense, big shield, and all that stuff. It's just really, really solid kit. Even her A1 provoke can be pretty cool and just pretty clutch. Well, my Ancora actually had no gear. But anyways, I'm going to show you guys my Freyja. This is what I would kind of gear her as for arena. I did put her in a bolster set and a one-turn stone skin set. The reason why I put her in a bolster set is because she doesn't have any like baked in healing into her kit, right? And she does have a provoke. She's going to be taking lots of damage. She only has her shield, which is fine, but she has no healing. Otherwise, I think a bolster set is very okay. She has good base HP as well. Definitely could go for example like 2-turn stone skin. That kind of makes sense too. And these are the general stats I have on her. So 56k HP with just under 6k defense, 260 speed, 320 accuracy, just to land her provoke. You don't need any accuracy on her if you want to forgo her provoke. Provoke is pretty low chance anyways. And just focus on just defense, of course, and speed. I think you could even build her maybe in resistance if you really want to focus on her cleansing ability. Like if you just want to use her as a cleanser, you could focus on some resistance as well. But I'd probably just recommend using 1 or 2-turn stone skin and trying to mix in some other sets into her build as well. So I think bolster is a reasonable set to put her in for arena purposes. My general masteries here, I did go down to timely intervention, similar masteries as I would use for an arbiter, for example, minus the shield stuff. Mainly because she has a chance to basically place a shield on your team if your team's suffering a lot of damage, or for example do a big cleanse. You could actually bring down to Iron Skin to get some extra defense if you like. Could even go for something like Fearsome Presence, for example, to increase the chance to provoke. Pair that with like Polymorph or something. If you have a blessing, you could get some more value there. Just an example, you definitely don't have to go down that route. Even go down to Eagle Eye to get some extra accuracy. But yeah, there's various ways to build her. If you don't have any of these stone skin pieces or bolster pieces, you can definitely just build her in like just perception gear or just random pieces, basically jack up her defense. You don't need her with high damage or anything like that. For arena, just speed and defense, and she'll just benefit off of the big shield, and then if she's fast, she can use the cleanse and block debuffs frequently enough. All right guys, and lastly, I think one of her better spots in this game is probably in Hydra. She has a really good kit for it, mainly because her A1 does have an AoE attached to it and a 40% chance to provoke. Keep in mind that 40% chance to provoke is probably not enough to do the provoke duties all by herself. She's probably better as a plan B in that regard. But in this case, I do have her built out in a hex set. So now she has provoke and hex on her A1, paired up with an ally attack champion, which would give her more A1s. She's also built with counter attack accessories so that she can do more A1s, for example. And she's also one of the biggest survivability pieces in this team. So I just want to see how well she can actually carry this team and see if this team can actually do okay. So let's jump in and see how she plays a little bit here. So we got, all right, so we got ally attack. Let's see if we can get the provoke off. We got lucky here with the 1 provoke from her. We got a little bit lucky here, but let's see what else we can do. Let's go increase defense with the shield. And decrease defense, block buffs, speed up, speed down from Necmo. It's not the best team in the world, guys. I just wanted to show a team that can kind of highlight her abilities a little bit so that she can actually carry a team. Obviously, like Podrig and Arima are pretty like super solid. Actually, this whole team has very solid champions, but I just want to make sure that she has the ability to carry lesser teams if possible. So what do we got here? She placed the hex all around. She's also the sole hex champion on this team, unless I forgot to mention that, but she is the sole hex champion on this team. So I just wanted to see how well she can carry in both of those aspects just by herself. So maybe you guys only had one hex set and you guys need to put it on a champion. Let's see if it actually works here. So we'll play through a little bit here. So far it looks pretty good. She got the first provoke off. Maybe you guys have to restart the run a couple times perhaps, just to get the right RNG, but let's see here. So now we need to provoke again. So we go A1. We missed the provoke this time. She is weak affinity as well, which makes things a little bit worse. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We should get probably 2 turns here because, you know, we got a lot of speed boosting going on. We do have an ally attack. Of course, we'll try to kill this head ASAP. Oh, see, we got a counterattack off. Bunch of weak hits. Let's try that again. Nope. We did land the hex, but we need to land the provoke. So unfortunately, the weak affinity here really kind of messing us up a little bit here. Took a big slam from the Head of Wrath. Seems okay so far. Lots of poison damage coming in. Male doing his thing. Let's see here. We're trying to kill off the Head of Decay ASAP. Do we want to try provoke? I think we can try one more provoke here. Let's try. Nope, didn't land it. Fortunate. We're going to save the AoE until after he cleanses. Nope. Yeah, so obviously the affinity plays a big part in this. So obviously if she is negative affinity, you probably wouldn't want to bring her in to be the sole provoker against a spirit affinity Head of Decay. But this is probably the worst scenario, right? Where you're basically running one provoke champion with a low chance to provoke versus a negative affinity head. And you can kind of see how many attacks she already got in, and she was not able to provoke this head at all. So we did get lucky on the first turn provoke, but after that, it's kind of nothing. All right, let's place the big shield. Podrick's about to die. Get this guy off. All right, so far our team is doing okay. We don't really have a real damage dealer. We just have one Harima, and then the rest are kind of like just supports. Let's try to land some Hex. Yep, Hex landing. Hex is very good. Hex has a 50% chance to land from the set, the curse set, so it's actually not too bad. Let's go all ally attack. Again, her AoE will try to land a Hex set again. Very nice. See, all the heads have Hex on them. That's exactly what you want. Damage per turn is modest, but not too bad. Not too bad here. We are only on hard difficulty. So yeah, let's see here. Remove debuff. Sure, why not remove debuffs? Plays block debuffs and then ally attack again. Yeah, obviously having her paired with an ally attack really helps, giving her the extra A1s, making her fast, making her have putting her on her team with the turn meter booster, for example. You get more turns and so forth. All these things will help give her a better chance at landing her debuffs. Yep. And here we do have Podrick, which gives buffs, correct buffs to everybody. So her increased defense is not relied on as heavily. Otherwise, we would probably need her increased defense more often to give Harima the increased defense buff. In this case, Podrick's passive gives the increased defense to Harima just passively. Here, let's try to land hexes and stuff. Perfect, we landed hex. All right, so I mean, her kit is very straightforward in terms of just its usability. We all know it's a very solid, usable kit, right? Increased defense, shield, cleanse, block debuffs, fill turn meter. Very solid kit overall. It's how to enhance her kit for the sake of Hydra, and honestly, using her in a hex set seems very, very reasonable. All right, I'm just gonna end this fight here, because I think we've seen everything we need to see. I'll show you guys the build here real quick. So very modest build here. I have her in a 4-piece hex set, mainly for Hydra, right? I put her in with a counterattack, revenge ring, which is basically a counterattack ring. I have her with quick damage amulet, so she can deal some damage. She is crit capped here a little bit, just to help out deal some damage. A bit low on the defense, but a very modest build here. 277 speeds, obviously very high with the ascended boots. And then just a standard curse set here with some rolls into speed, double roll here, single roll here. But yeah, masteries here, going down to War Master just to help out with some additional damage. Life Drinker to give her some healing as well. If you had a blessing, I would definitely pick Cruelty. Cruelty will definitely help, especially with their A1 AoE, decreasing the defense of all enemies. I think with the hex set, 50% chance is very reasonable, considering that she probably just will able to land at least some hexes on some of the heads at least once with her AoE. Whereas 40% chance with her A1 provoke doesn't seem like it's enough against the Head of Decay. However, we were playing against the Spirit Affinity Head of Decay, and we were getting a bunch of weak hits, so maybe it would fare a little bit better. But I would feel a little bit better if she was more of a backup provoker instead of a main provoker. And obviously Hex landing or not landing is not as bad as provoke landing or not landing. So provoke is obviously more important. So I wouldn't feel bad about Freyja being the only Hex champion on your team, but I would feel kind of bad if she was the only provoke champion on your team, because just how important it is to land that provoke and not have it fail or not land at the wrong times. So obviously you need accuracy for that, so give a little bit of accuracy to her. All right, so overall I think this champion is very good. She's very solid. She's comparable to lots of other champions. Obviously her passive comparable to champions like Godfrey. Godfrey has a passive that basically keeps a champion alive from dying. So let's check out his passive here. So his passive, whenever an ally is attacked, if an ally is killed by a fatal hit, block incoming damage and place a block damage on that champion. So I think this one is a little bit better than Freyja's at keeping them alive, but Freyja does have an instant turn, which is pretty unique in that sense. So Freyja's could be a little bit better, I think, because it does give the instant turn. But there are some other champions that give that kind of mechanic to her, which is kind of interesting. And what is special about Freyja is that her shield ability is actually increased defense first, so it's already going to be a big shield. She doesn't need somebody else to apply it on her before she places the big shield. So you have champions like Valkyrie. Valkyrie places the same kind of shield that's proportional to their defense, but she also places counterattack, but then she requires increased defense on her first to have a huge shield. Same thing with Helicath, same kind of idea. They place the shield, but they don't have the increased defense. But for Freyja, it's really nice for her to place the increased defense on herself. She also has this additional condition multiplier here based on champion's max HP. So who knows, in the future it might actually be scalable to do something really insane. So I think for Freyja, I think for future proofing, she's actually quite decent in that there might be actually future content that she might be really good at. Not to mention her passive, again, keeping an ally alive, through a fatal hit and giving them an instant turn. Definitely allows her to do some content that not a lot of champions could do. Like I said, Blizzard, for example. Blizzard was a champion that many people wrote off as a fusion, but his passive, because it keeps himself alive through a revive, allows him to solo Sand Devil, right? Allows him to solo Amius in some situations. And of course we have Godseeker and Eerie, the very famous passive here that basically revives an ally after they're killed. So champions with these kind of cool abilities always seem to find themselves into some kind of content. And I have no doubt that Freyja, with this passive or this different kind of scaling with her shield, and also of course the shield shenanigans already from Wixwell and Yannicka and Hydra and all that stuff, you definitely will see something with Freyja perhaps in the future that we have not seen yet. So do I think she's actually worth getting? Absolutely, she is worth getting. Is she worth it for your account? Personally, for my account, I don't really see her being super utilized, just because I have tons of champions that already do, certain roles very well or whatever. But for many accounts, early, mid game, late game, she will be excellent. She's a cleanser. She's a big shield. She's big protection. She could do some cool stuff in arena, do some cool stuff in Hydra for sure. And for me, I would definitely get her once she shows up in the guaranteed deck of Freight. However, they decide to, put her up in terms of requirements. I would definitely try to get her, just because her kit allows her to be kind of future-proof in terms of what content she can do. You can also compare to a champion like Alatreon. So Alatreon came from the Monster Hunter. I think he's Dark Elf. Am I mistaken? My bad, Night Revenant. So Alatreon Blade Master, he was part of the Monster Hunter collab, but he's a very similar kit to Freyja here. The A1's not an AoE, but it has a chance to increase duration of 2 random buffs, which is cool. But obviously, I think the AoE is probably a little bit more, easier to use. He has a very similar A2, increased defense, then places a shield. The shield is equal to 30% of this champion's max HP. So it's a different scaling. It's not defense based, it's HP based, and then the blocks, the buffs are protected. So in this case, this could be better than Freyja's, but I think Freyja gives a bigger shield. And then he places the cleanse, block debuffs, very similar to Freyja, but then he doesn't have the Termir boost. So very similar champion overall, and a passive that gives him a little bit of sustain, but Freyja's passive is much better. So in my opinion, Freyja is much better than Alatreon. And Alatreon is not a bad champion at all. He's a very good champion, and his protected buffs, block debuffs, is very strong against champions like, against bosses like Amius, against Odin, for example. Extremely strong champion. But I think Freyja is overall a better champion than Alatreon. But yeah, anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Freyja. I know it took me a while to bring out this showcase. I just wanted to be a little bit more thorough on her, give her my final thoughts, and I think she's a great champion. I'll definitely be going for her, but I don't think she is 100% grab for everybody, just based on the resources you guys might have. For example, you guys might be spending resources on other things. Is she, a champion that you cannot miss? Probably not. I definitely think she's an above average champion. She's nothing, her kit is solid, nothing insane. Her shield is actually very good. Mainly because she does place the increased defense on herself before placing it. And I do feel there's something extra special about this scaling with the champion's max HP, which is very, very good. And her passive is actually very unique as well. And like I said, this passive definitely will see some play in possibly some cheesing content in the future as well. So I think if you're in that situation where you can pick her up, definitely do. But if not, I think you might be okay if you don't pick her up. But anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think about her and my overall showcase. Let me know if I missed anything, or let me know if I said anything wrong. I do appreciate that as well. So yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching the video. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you guys in the next one.